Good morning, everyone. Happy group session day. Nice to see you. So we're going to just jump right in and get started. Welcome to any new people that are joining us. Welcome if you're watching this replay. Got some questions that were gathered from the group forums. Again, if you are new to this, doing the group sessions, under your programs, so if you go to your Practice Better dashboard and under your programs, you'll see your Retrain the Allergy Brain program, and then you'll see the group program. In that group program, if you open it up, you'll see form, and that is the form that you click on in order to answer the questions that get addressed in these group sessions. So if you have not filled out a form yet, please do so before our meetings on Tuesday mornings at 9, and we will get everybody's questions answered. So we've got a couple questions about the breathing and meditation. And so I thought today would be a good time to go in just a little bit deeper why we do those. I want you to really understand that it's not what we may think about breathing and meditation. We're going to address some nutrition questions, some meal idea questions, the nutrient targets in your journals, and just total calorie consumption in general. And then we're going to answer some questions about styku as well. So we've got a lot of questions coming up. So let's go ahead and get started. So in your digital program, the Retrain the Brain program, one of the modalities is on breathing and one of the modalities is on meditation. And I just want to be really clear about why we do that. Breathing, for example, breathing is not just so that we are breathing. Truly, breathing is the difference between life and death. It is the thing that makes the difference between you being alive and you not being alive. Why we are focused on breathing. Keep in mind that everything that I've added to the modalities of the program and everything that I've added as therapies, I took the best exercises that worked for the majority of people over the 18 years that I've been doing this work. And so those kind of curated the definite things that we had to make sure that everybody was learning, practicing, and doing and adding into their lives. Breathing is absolutely one of them. And there are many ways to breathe. You'll see that we have column breathing and box breathing. Those are kind of our go-to breathing strategies, but there's a number of ways that you can breathe. Why we do the column breathing is because it's a connection through the chakras and through the glands of the body. So it runs all the way through the center of the breathing. The column breathing is specifically helpful for, it's not like the box breathing where you have to hold it for a certain number of seconds as you go around the box so that you're inhaling and lengthening your exhales, which has a rhyme and a reason and a purpose for that. Column breathing is to just connect all of the energy centers straight through the body. The reason we do that is because what also runs through the straight center of the body is your spinal column and also your vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, which means it's the 10th nerve that comes down from the cranium, from the skull, and it runs all the way down through the body. It is the longest nerve of the body, and it is the biggest messenger nerve of the body. It tells everybody in your body what to do. So it is highly influential. The vagus nerve is between Sam and Patty. It is very influential between the messages that Sam needs to get and the messages that Patty needs to get. So when we practice column breathing, it specifically is for helping you shift into that Patty state, helping you shift onto the parasympathetic side. If you're new to the program, you will be learning all about Sam and Patty. We talk endlessly about Sam and Patty. For just kind of a quick refresher of that, we want to be in the Patty state. We want to be in the parasympathetic state more often than jumping into that Sam state. We should be able to jump into that state when there's an urgent need, and then we hop back into Patty state, and that is where we typically live our life. And so the breathing is a way that you are practicing activating the parasympathetic nervous system. If you are activating the parasympathetic nervous system, your muscles will tend to be more relaxed. Your nourishment will be able to move through your body. Your blood flow will be able to move through your body, and your heart and your brain will be in coherence, which means they are communicating. They are two of the biggest energy centers of the body. The brain alone uses up 25%. The heart alone uses up 25% of your total energy expenditure throughout the day. And it's very important that the brain energy and the heart energy are connected as you're moving through the day so that you're getting all the messages. That means your brain is cohesive. The parts of your brain can work together. Subconscious can bubble into the conscious mind. And then communication is whole. Rather than when you're in the SAM state and your brain gets segmented, the energy blockages start, where we aren't getting the messages from the brain to the heart and vice versa, or to the rest of the body. When we are in the SAM state, we're pretty much thinking only with the prefrontal cortex, the frontal lobes of the brain, because those are the survival parts of the brain. Those are the quick answer kind of parts of the brain. Places like memory and stored long-term memory and speech don't necessarily need to be part of survival mode. And so those parts of the brain tend to shut off so that all of your energy can be used just in those survival parts of the brain. So we're thinking only up here. If we're thinking only in those prefrontal cortexes, we're not thinking about feelings. We're thinking about self. We're not thinking about other people's feelings. I mean, we're thinking about self, and we're thinking about self-preservation, and we're thinking about survival. If you ever get in a fight with somebody, you'll know what I mean, because you're just quick reacting to what needs to happen in that moment. And we're tending to get defensive. We're not compassionate at that time. We're not as capable of understanding another person's feelings because we're operating just from that one part of the brain. When we are coming from a parasympathetic state, we're more likely to have a conversation because we're not in survival. We're able to access all of the parts of the brain. We're able to access compassion. We're able to access long-term memories. We're able to access speech and collaboration. So it's very important that we have all of the brain cohesive parts working together. Breathing is one of the ways to do that. Column breathing specifically is one of the ways to activate and utilize to full efficiency the vagus nerve, so that we can instruct the body that we are not running from a tiger and we really can be in that parasympathetic nervous system. So doing the column breathing, learning how to do that is really important. Taking that lesson then and doing it at home repeatedly. Maybe it's something that you do while you're waiting at the stoplight. Maybe it's something that you do when you pull up in the parking lot right before you hop into work, or you get back in your car after work. It's just something that you incorporate into your life to make sure that you're doing column breathing multiple times throughout the day. Again, it's a training. It is a practice. Breathwork is a practice because we go about our day kind of in that hyperventilation stage, and we're only breathing with the top portions of our lungs. Taking the time to make sure that you are doing column breathing, you are consciously making an effort to get into that patty state. It's very useful then when you are in the SAM state or when you're in a stress state. It will be a natural response for you to be able to slow down and do the column breathing when you're in a stressful situation. Now, when you do that, all of the channels, all of the glands, so all of your hormone making glands, all of your enzyme regulating glands, all of your time clock and the processing parts of your body, which all sit through the center of your body, your pineal and pituitary, your thyroid, and your adrenals, and there was another one. I say thyroid, thymus, adrenals. Those are all regulatory glands. They monitor your hormone, they monitor your enzyme output, they monitor and regulate all of the neurotransmitters that communicate to the rest of the body. So they are regulators. We want those to be able to communicate with each other. So when you are in a stressful situation and you're using the column breathing, you're clearing some of the energy that is through the center of the body as you're moving the breath up and down throughout the body. Now you're able to have clear meridians, an energy term. You're also able to have a very receptive and responsive vagus nerve, which means the vagus nerve will then be able to be in the appropriate portion of the nervous system, the sympathetic or the parasympathetic, so then it can be getting all the neurotransmitters to the proper places. Okay, so please do not look at breathing as just this like, why do I have to do this? You know, I know how to breathe. I do it every day, all day. Please look at it as a practice. There is definitely scientific rhyme and reason to why that specific breathing technique is added in. Okay. Meditation is the same way. The purposes of the meditation that we use in office is not necessarily for Zen and peace. You absolutely can do that. Meditation is a practice. It is a spiritual practice. In office, we are using it clinically because we are using meditation again as a way to get into the parasympathetic. When we are in the SAM state, we're in that stress, fight, or flight state. We're not cohesive, as I mentioned, with the heart and the brain. And so we tend to ruminate on our thoughts, and our thoughts tend to spin and spin and spin, and we never really ever get to any resolution to any problem because we're in that fight or flight place. We're operating just from the prefrontal lobe. When we do meditation, we are focusing on opening up the other parts of the brain again so that we can have communication. Meditation is one of the ways that we can shut off the parts of the brain that are just ruminating. We can focus on the energy that we want to feel in the body. We can focus on moving energy throughout the body. We can focus on just stopping the kind of chatter in our brain that is keeping us in a survival place. When you are in the midst of a problem, the worst thing we can do is try sit in the midst of that problem and try to solve it. Because when we're in the problem, we're in SAM state, and all we're doing by thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking is keeping us in that survival state, survival state, survival state. So if we can kind of tune off and tune in within for a little bit, then we'll get our brain into the coherence. We'll get our energy between our heart and our brain into coherent energy. Now that's the time to actually come back and be able to take a look at the perceived problem and then see what kind of answers we get, because we'll be doing so from a more centered place. We'll be doing so with more of the parts of our brain activated. So if you have tried meditation before and it didn't work for you, don't think of it as meditation and I have to sit in this particular style or I have to do these particular things. It really is a time to just focus within. Let the tornado around you stop spinning, get centered inside, and then allow the brain and heart connection so that you have a more clear brain as you're thinking in order to get out of this survival state. Meditation has long been researched, and it's definitely becoming more and more part of integrated care, even in the medical world. But it is a common use thing that you'll hear all kinds of people talking about. If you want to look up some ways that people scientifically are using meditation, you can look up Esther Hicks or especially Dr. Joe Dispenza. Those would be some really good resources for you to learn more about meditation and why we include that as an essential modality in our programs. Okay, nutrient questions that repeatedly come up. We're always looking for easy meal ideas. Definitely get probably every other week we get questions about options for eating. Everybody's on the go. You know, we're looking for convenience foods. We're looking for easy ways to grab and go or take to work. And so it's very helpful when you all, I believe on the replay, I'm not sure if on the replay you can add to comments or not, but if any of you listening can access comments, you certainly can put in some ideas of how you make eating your meals an easy thing, especially away from home. Obviously, the ideal would be that we're not running it on the go all the time, that we have honored our meals where that is an essential part of our day, and that we're not just grabbing and going all the time. However, I know what it's like to have a busy life and family, kids, and running and needing to have some easy options. But I wanted to make sure when we talk about eating 3 meals and 2 snacks a day, that does not mean eating 5 meals a day. That does get really intense where all of a sudden you're thinking you have to cook 5 meals out of the day. That's definitely not what we mean. And it doesn't mean that each of those 5 times of including food in your day is not a whole meal. We'll definitely be getting way more calories in than we probably should be at that time, and we'll definitely be making the routine a lot harder. So think about it's 3 meals during the day. The breakfast meal is generally at home. The supper meal is generally at home. The lunch meal then is the only thing you really need to think about at work. And then 2 snacks. And now remember, 2 snacks do not have to, they don't make up a meal. A snack could be a handful of nuts. It could be an apple. The easiest things to do is to grab a baggie of fruit or a baggie of vegetables that you already have cut up. It could be, you know, a baggie of sugar snap peas or some carrots that you've already gotten ready. It can be as simple as, like I said, grabbing an apple or an orange. Keep those snacks just really simple. If those snacks don't appeal to you, when you make your breakfast, make a double portion and then eat that at your snack time. Same thing, when you eat your lunch, save a little portion and eat that again a couple hours from your meal time. So the key to that is we're trying to balance blood sugar, which ultimately will balance cortisol. Insulin and cortisol and blood sugar have a huge thing to do with Sam and Patty, with staying in the vagus nerve communication, where you can be more in parasympathetic state. Many of you have on your clinical goals regulating cortisol or regulating blood sugar. And one of the easiest ways to do that is through your food. So if you're eating multiple times throughout the day, you're not letting your cortisol levels rise. Because when we go gaps of time, your blood sugar is going to be up and down, your insulin is going to be up and down, and by necessity, your cortisol is going to be up and down. Remember, cortisol is an intense high hormone. It is fat gaining hormone. So if you're in here and doing program for weight loss, your cortisol is going to be highly influential to that. Your cortisol influences all of your hormones. So if you've got fertility issues, if you're in program for infertility, if you are in program for heavy periods, weight, like we mentioned, your cortisol is going to have a direct effect on all of those hormones. And one of the easiest things you can do to help manage that cortisol is eating regularly throughout the day so that you're not creating these calorie deficit gaps in your day where now cortisol is the only fuel that your body can rely on. And so it shoots in some cortisol because it hasn't had fuel all day long or for a number of hours anyway. So just keep in mind when you are eating these meals and snacks, no, there's often confusion, like it has to be these giant big meals, and that's not what we're talking about. You're going to gain weight and then you'll be unhappy, and that's not what we're trying to do. We just need enough going in so that the body has fuel to function throughout its day. I like to tell people to eat within half an hour of waking because that sets your cortisol and metabolism for the rest of the day. If you've been going all night long and haven't eaten anything, you have no fuel to start your day. So the body has a natural response called dawn phenomena. That's where cortisol injects into the body. It usually happens around 4 a.m. in the morning for most people. And so if you're waking at 3, 4 in the morning, that means your blood sugar has dropped. And so when we eat within half an hour of waking, we're not allowing that cortisol to steadily keep rising. We're stopping that. And now we're putting in fuel, which comes from our food. And so now we've got food and fuel coming in. Our cortisol doesn't need to be what replenishes us and keeps us going. It's not our energizer battery through the day. We're actually using our food and our nutrients. And so a simple breakfast meal could be something as simple as a smoothie that you grab and go. And then have snacks, like I said, where it's an apple or an orange or a handful of nuts or a baggie of cut up vegetables, just something really easy. What makes it easy for me for lunch is I always just take a serving of leftovers from supper before and I heat it up at work, and that's my meal. In winters, I tend to like to make a soup on Sundays, and then that lasts me all week for lunches. And I might just make a salad, have a little cup of soup. There are these little mini crock pots that have a internal container. One of our staff members got that for me for my birthday, had the team gather to get that for me. And I love it because I can fill it the night before, and then I leave the little unit plugged in, and all I have to do is come in the beginning of my day, right when I get to work, I just put my little crock pot in that little warmer. By the time it's lunchtime, I've got a hot meal ready. So don't make it harder than it has to be. We're all busy. We all have busy schedules. Work together, make comments to each other in the chat. That can really help. And talk to other people and see how they make their meals really easy. I generally have similar nights. So Sunday I will always make like a home cooked meal. Tuesday, we always do tacos for Tuesday. That's something simple that everybody can make, and it fits all of the family's needs. And Friday we make homemade pizza. The other Saturday, we typically have like a date night or going out night or grilling, but then that only leaves a few nights during the week where I have maybe put something in the crock pot, or I have to come up with a new meal plan to make. So come up with routines, establish easy things that I know that I've always got stuff for tacos and pizza, and grilling always in my cupboards, and smoothies. I've always got those in my cupboards. I've always got the ingredients for that. Then each week I just pick, maybe 3 new recipes, and use those on the opposite nights, Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. So keep it simple. Take those leftover lunches, then bring that for your lunch. Have baggies of apples, carrots, snow peas, broccoli, cauliflower. Have those ready, and that's all you have to grab and go for your day. So keep it very simple. Okay, hope that helps. Some people had questions on calorie consumption. Know that when you work with us before you get into your program, I have already calculated nutrient analysis for you. So we take what your what your energy needs are, and we take what a current style of eating for you is, and add that to what your goals are, and we come up with a nutrient panel. So we know the amount of calories you should be taking in each day specific for you. We know what carbs, what fats, what percentage of proteins you should be taking in. And so on your journals, if you go to Practice Better and you go to your journals and you click on journals, you go to your food journals, you're going to see that there's like a little circle that your nutrient targets can get added in there. So then when you're entering in what you're eating on your journal, it will calculate for you. Now the bar should go all the way over to the right by the end of the day. That's how you know you've met the calorie needs that are specific for you. Okay. It doesn't go on a generalized for your age, for your gender. That's this many calories, is this many grams of protein for you specifically. So you want that bar all the way to the right. When you look at your food journals, then you can see, oh, protein, how did I do? Oh, I'm right here in the middle. Well, that means you didn't get enough protein in your day. So go and look at what you ate and make sure that you've got protein coming in, and either eat more of the protein that you consume during the day or find other sources of protein. Over time, you can adjust you'll be able to adjust your meals, your schedule, so that all of your targets are at the right side of that bar. So it's a really useful tool. You don't have to worry so much about counting calories if you're just using your food journals. And then once you get kind of the standard, I eat this and this and this throughout my day, and now I know my nutrient targets are all over, it's easier for you to change up your meals then, because you're going to kind of keep, okay, so I was perfectly accurate when I ate this. So now instead of eating chicken, I'm going to eat salmon. And you should relatively stay in the same range just by swapping out one food for another type of that food. So I hope that that helps. The food journals are really incredibly important. I look at them before your program assessments. Your coaches might look at them to help you if you're struggling with the food functions or struggling with meal plan ideas. When you take a picture, that's fantastic because it lets the coach see what you're actually eating, and that is very useful. It just does not move the target bars. So in order to move the target bars, you have to write in the amounts of the food that you eat. Now, again, like I said, we tend to get kind of routine with our meals. And so once you've added your foods in, you can see, okay, this is what I generally eat. Where do I actually fall? Oh, I typically fall short in protein, or I've got way too many carbs coming in. Now you can make your adjustments and see what happens the next day and make sure that, great, now my targets are in normal range. It's a very simple tool, and you'll be amazed at how much that can change in your body when you have the right macros, the right vitamins and minerals coming in for your body in particular. Okay, I hope that that answers the calorie consumption question. Let's see, we did breathing and meditation. Styku. Styku numbers are always really interesting. The reason we use styku is because, especially for women, especially if we have cortisol issues, we're not seeing the number move on the scale. We have to look at other resources then. Styku is that other resource. It's a body composition analyzer. And so what it's looking at is it's measuring every part of you. That's why we ask you to wear skin tight clothing or just stripping down to your skivvies, because we don't want to measure all of this extra bulk. And then what it does is it lets us see bone density, it lets us see inflammation, it lets us see the kinds of fats and where they are located on the body. That way, if you come in and you say, I am not losing weight at all, we can look at that number, we can see, okay, the number didn't change, but the inches that you lost changed, which means it's shifting on the body. Then we want to make sure it's shifting to appropriate places. And so we're able to see specifically, where did we have gains, where did we have losses? If we have losses, say, in the arms, but not in the belly, we know there's cortisol issue there. If we have gains over the thighs and the bums and the hips, then we know it's hormonal fat that you're gaining. If we are seeing a gain everywhere, then we know that we've just got all around subcutaneous fat that's gaining. And then we know that your calorie consumption is too elevated, or you're eating too many of the wrong kinds of carbs. So every type of fat has a different meaning behind it and different things that we need to strategize in order to help you with those types of fats. So styku is an incredibly helpful, useful device. We've got that At your mid-program assessments, when you do your data collection, you will get a styku right in your program. You can always have additional styku. We tend to want to do them monthly. They're inexpensive. It's $45 to do an additional styku. And so you can have that, or you can keep up with those after your program ones. Like I said, we've got 3 that are scheduled for you throughout your program. But if you wanted to have additional ones, because you don't want to go beyond a month, then you might want to add additional stykus to your plan. There also is a workout calculator on the styku. When you get your styku done, you can ask the technician to show you the workout calendar, because it will help you figure out what types of workouts you need to do, how frequently you need to do those workouts, and by what date, if you do these things, you would be able to see some change. So that's a very useful tool. Again, for our purposes, we're just wanting to make sure that there's healthy body composition all around. We want to make sure that your bone density is where that we're helping support your bone density, and we're not losing bone density. And we want to make sure that you're having an increase in lean muscle mass, and that we're having decrease in overall body fat. So even if you're not here to lose weight, we definitely are here holistically. And so we're watching all of the parts of the body, so that we're making sure that you have holistic, where was I going with that? Holistic health, holistic support, even in the things that you didn't ask for help with, so that you are feeling the best that you possibly can. Okay, we are so excited to have all of you in program. We love the questions. Remember that Tuesdays at 9 is our time to get together, where you have more time with me specifically, and I'll answer any questions that you have that you want to go a little bit more in depth with. The group sessions are the perfect time for that. I do keep the questions anonymous, like I said, and you have access to the replays. If you go into your group program on Practice Better, you can look at all of the replays that we have done up until this point. So definitely make use of that resource. We will see you again next week. Bye, everyone.